Hi, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm looking at the recent release of the de Havilland DH82A Tiger Moth in the colours of various air forces in 1/32 scale from ICM. Now this is based on the kit released as a new mould product in 2020. Previous releases include a light bomber version in 2022, as a model set with crew and ground figures in 2021, as a pairing with the 1/32 scale Boeing Stearman inspired by the movie The English Patient in 2022, and as part of a model set of World War II biplane trainers, this time with the Boeing Stearman and the Booker Youngman in 2023. A version of the winterized DH82C with a canopy and other modifications was originally intended for 21/21 but has not yet been released. Now if you enjoy the show, and I hope you do, please remember to let YouTube know by giving it the imperial thumbs up, hitting the notification bell and subscribing to the channel. It's free and a great way to show your support. So let's make a start with the box the kit comes in. So here we have the box of the de Havilland 82A Tiger Moth in 1/32 scale, as it says here, from ICM. Product code is 32019, and here are the markings, or roundels, national markings for the schemes covered here. So Belgium, French, United States, Portugal and Sweden, and this very lovely, very attractive looking French Tiger Moth on the front with the classic red and yellow striped covers to the engine. Very, very smart, very lovely. On this long end here, it has a link, a QR link to the ICM webpage, and it says here that when the aircraft is completed, it will have a length of 228 millimeters, a span of 280 millimeters, and there are 93 parts in the kit, which is jolly good. And you'll probably use most of them because this doesn't have retractable wheels and all that, of course. On the other long end, it has all of the schemes it covers. So Swedish Air Force 1935, Portuguese Air Force in 39, French Vichy Air Force in 41, United States Army Air Force in 1943. That's very similar to one that's done by Airfix, by the way, in 1/72. And the Belgian Air Force in 1945. I mean, they do just seem to be going to compete to be, especially up here, compete to be the brightest of them. I mean, I'm very tempted by that because I love these red and yellow covers to the engines. I just love, I don't know why, I really like that on the French ones. But these are both such fun schemes as well. Very difficult to sort of decide between them. Anyway, let's have a look inside the box and see what we get for our money. Now, as with most ICM boxes, the glossy cover comes up off the top. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get off, but there we go. Came off eventually. And inside you'll find this very nice, very hard cardboard box with a front tab containing all the parts and protecting them. So here we have one bag with all of the parts in, grey parts and transparent parts. You can see there's really not much to this kit, which is kind of good in a way, I guess. And then on the inside we have the instruction book. We have a huge decal sheet by the standards of ICM. This is a big decal sheet. And we have the instructions here, as we can see. So why don't we have a look at all these in a bit more detail. So frame A is a surprisingly large part of the aircraft. Actually, both fuselage halves, the let's see, upper surface of the, is that the upper surface or the lower surface? Let's have a look. That's going to be the lower surface of the lower wings, the upper surface of the upper wings, because these are not being used for the rigging, so that's why they're on a separate sheet. Tailplane, rudder, and pretty much everything really. Ailerons, engine, even engine covers, one of the seats here, fuel tank and bulkhead. So yeah, quite a lot of the plane already on this one frame. What they call frames B and C, but this is frame B, this is frame C, are the respectively the upper part of the lower wing and the lower part of the upper wing. Now they're on the separate frames because they do have little pre-marked points to drill out if you're going to do the rigging of the aircraft, but we'll worry about that. I'll show you that later on. So anyway, B and C are just the other two bits of the wings. Then frame D is basically everything else. So some controls, the comrods, I mean, tappet, control comrods that go up to the tappets on top of the engine, I'm guessing. Propeller, undercarriage parts, interplane struts, wheels, blind flying hood, and so on. And there is a frame E, a tiny frame E, which are the two windshields for the front and rear cockpits. If we look at the plastic, it's okay. It's nice enough plastic. The mouldings are okay. I wouldn't go much more than that because, I don't know. It's difficult, I know, to design something like a tiger moth, but the camera can't even focus properly. The sort of way you have to sculpt, as these are fabric wings, it's kind of difficult to get the sculpting just so it looks realistic. I don't think it's that brilliant here. The fin, again, it's all right. It's not too bad. Solid things like the engine are fine, absolutely fine. No problem with those. And the fuel tank's got that lovely corrugation on the top. Very classic. That's perfectly good. Anything on the other side? So the interior framework is there, which is good. It's not overly sharp. It's not overly intense. It's overly well presented, I guess. But it'll do. And maybe there wasn't too much information, too much on the inside. Obviously, you're going to add bits and pieces to it as well, like throttles and whatever. But yeah, it's a little basic. For 1/32, anyway. Likewise, things like the throttles and mixture controls and stuff like that, they just have a slightly underdone feel to the design in my book. I don't know, I think they could be a little bit better than that. The wheels are nice with the de Havilland logo in the middle. Those are very nice, actually. That's really lovely. They've cut those hubcaps really beautifully. Instrument panels, again, very, very basic, but they were basic. So you can easily enough paint those, dry brush them to get the sort of bevel of all the instruments, and then just set the instruments individually into those faces, and that will be the best way of doing it rather than trying to put the whole of the instruments across there in one go. But otherwise, it's okay. I'd put it as okay rather than mind-blowing. There's the interplane struts. Of course, placing the interplane struts and getting everything set up is going to be an issue, but it always is with biplanes. And there's the propeller. A little sharp, a little, I don't know. Could be, it's years since I've actually seen a prop for a tiger, so I'm not entirely sure, but it looks just a little bit sharp to me. A little bit not as refined, let's say, as I know it to be. But they're okay. Obviously, all the printing of the smaller parts is lovely. All these, like the rudder bar assemblies and the control columns here. They're fine. They're jolly good. Nice and cleanly moulded, though. That's the other thing. They are cleanly moulded. There's no flash here, and that's a definite advantage. The rather large decal sheet is here. For ICM, this is very big. So at top here we have the instruments, and we have the very few stencils that existed on the Tiger Moth, and then we have the Belgian colours, French colours are here, American colours here and here. These are the Portuguese markings, and here the Swedish markings. The colours look slightly faded compared to what you would expect from cartograph. Now that's because these are four colour printed, they're not screen printed with individual inks. That makes it easier to do and cheaper to do, but you do miss out on some of that absolute richness. So I would suspect a lot of people at this scale are going to paint most of the markings themselves. Obviously not the Portuguese flags, for example, unless they're really, really, really clever. They may well look around for someone else's decals, say. You can see the instruments are relatively basic. Well, they were on the Tiger Moth. I know I've flown in them, and they're very basic instrumentation in those days, especially. But you know, they're okay. Kind of would have expected maybe these would be a bit sharper and cleaner printing at 1/32 scale. All of the text absolutely should be readable, and indeed it is. And then the markings, as you can see, this yellow is a little dull. The red's just that little bit dull, and that's because these are four colour printed, so CMYK printed. Likewise, the French markings, that blue in the middle is very, it's not really clean, it's not really dense, and that is a function of, as I say, of the printing method they have to use here. Again, the yellow is the thing that I think, yellows and pale blues are the things that really suffer with three colour printing. The Portuguese flags are okay, they're alright. The black is a little heavy on the middle, but you know, they're not too bad. And of course the Swedish markings are okay because they're just black and white, so not so much of an issue there to be trying to fix. Yeah. Yeah, they're okay. They're okay. I mean, you know, perfectly good. It's just, yeah, the registration's good, and it's just you just know that a decent screen print is going to be so much brighter, so much brighter. But we'll see how it goes. The instruction leaflet is the same as pretty much every time ICM do them. So we have a reprise of the colour box art on the front, with the title of the kit, scale and the model number 32019. We then have a brief description of the Tiger Moth service in various air forces in Ukrainian and in English, and some specifications, once again in Ukrainian and in English. Now they do have colour callouts for the paints they suggest you use. All of these have the ICM reference numbers. You can convert these to other companies either just by having a search online. I believe ICM actually do have some equivalencies, some are on their website as well. Then there's a translation of the icons they use, again Ukrainian and English, and here a QR link to their YouTube channel. Inside the kit we get the frame maps, and rather unusually, I have to say very unusually, you actually use all the parts that are here. Normally there's bits that have been changed because they're later models or whatever, and there are bits that get used or don't get used in particular versions. This is, everything you see is going to be used in the kit somewhere, which is fantastic. And then the instructions, simple line drawn, red highlighting for instructions. So here it's talking about adding various bits of wiring, you know, 40 centimeters of 0.1 here. It's going to kind of get in the way quite a lot when you're painting, I would say. Anyway, instrument panels are here. There's Decals instrument panels. Of course, you can probably get aftermarket instrument panels that look absolutely brilliant. It's all very straightforward. No typical open cockpit biplane of the era, really. The colour callouts are all in letters, so it's quite useful sometimes just to go through and remind yourself what all those different letters mean. Just write them in here and there. Engine construction is very basic, very simple. It was a very simple looking engine from the outside anyway. There's a blind flying hood here, so the pupil in the back could put this hood over and pretend they're flying at night, and therefore just flying on the instruments, whereas the instructor in the front was actually looking out and piloting the aircraft in daylight. Very common thing to see on British trainers of the age, and a few other countries as well. Again, if you want to rig this thing with continuous thread, there are holes to drill out here and there, and also over here. What you do is when you put the aircraft together, put the wings finally together, you only have the lower wing here has just the top surface, and the upper wing has just the bottom surface, which means you can thread all these cabling, this rigging, in and out of the various holes. Then when you come to finish the kit, you put the top of the top wings on, you put the bottoms of the bottom wings on, and it covers up all the stuff on the inside, which is a nice solution, and particularly easy to do, I guess, at 1/32 scale. There's some leading edge slats that go on. Undercarriage is relatively straightforward for the time, it certainly would have been. And just a few control horns. You can wire up the control horns. Some of the fuselage things giving you wires to come out actually are for control cable runs. And then that's the completed aircraft, and then some mask templates if you want to mask off. The windscreens would have been useful, considering these are open windscreens, to have double-sided mask templates. Again, you can probably get them as aftermarket because you're going to want to spray the inside as well as the outside, I would have thought. And then we go on to the schemes. This incredibly bright aircraft from the Swedish Air Force in 1935. An aircraft from the Portuguese Air Force in 1939. Very, very smart. We have the box cover art version, which is the Vichy Air Force in 1941. The American camouflage one from the 353rd Fighter Group of the United States Army Air Force in 1943. And on the back, the Belgian Air Force aircraft from 1945. So there we go. That's the instruction book. I do like a Tiger Moth, and some of the schemes here are very attractive. I'm tempted instead to do a Tiger Moth I've flown in, but I'd rather make this one out of the box first, then do the other one when I've learned some lessons and gathered maybe some more extras. Now, if you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, please let YouTube know by giving it the imperial thumbs up, by hitting that notification bell and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching today, and goodbye.